that I sold for $25. And in 6 weeks, we raised $35,000 for Israel. So that's a lot of $25 bracelets. This is what they look like. I mean, it's silk, can you see? It's silk string with a little bit of chain, and on the back is gold beads. $25. Everybody can afford $25, but what it did was create a community of givers. And people really felt like they were doing something for Israel, that they themselves were part of a community. And it went viral online. It was my 10 minutes or 6 weeks of fame, where one person would buy a bracelet and then tag their friends, and their friends would buy the bracelets. And we literally sold thousands and thousands of them. And I had the good fortune that many of the trips to Israel were canceled. And I invited the groups to come to my home, and they sat around the kitchen table, and all these teenagers would make the bracelets. And I offered them, they could either I could pay them $1 a bracelet, or they could do it for tzedakah. And it was terrific. I fed the boys chocolate, I fed the girls salads, and they just made the bracelets, made the bracelets, made the bracelets. So that's how we got through that. But that's how my business was born 6 years ago. And when I look back, I can see that there were 3 significant influences that really impacted me to start the business. And the first was my family. The fact that that I was able to make the bracelets, to make jewelry like the necklace I'm wearing right now. I think that came from my parents. My dad, who is artistic, who initially put his art through, or showed his creativity through being a lawyer, and his structuring of deals, and in talking to people in the right way, and maneuvering. That's an art, and he's amazing at it. And he's now transferred that, as you know, to painting, and his paintings are excellent and very beautiful. And then my mom, I mean, most of you knew my mom. Laura, I think you knew my mom as well. And you know, everything she did had so much style and so much thought, from the way she arranged her. Thank you for nodding. Everybody's nodding. Thank you, Iris. That it's just, now being a mom and where I am, the amount of effort and love that she put behind everything, I just can't imagine accomplishing and creating everything that she did. It's exhausting to me now, and I can't do a quarter of what she did at my age, you know, to create beauty in the world. So that definitely comes from my parents. The fact that I live next door to 2 artists, to Eva, who was a beautiful, beautiful musician. Eva, you tried so hard to get me to play the violin, but alas, I have no musical ability, and you know that, and I'm so sorry I let you down. And Jerry, who was an incredible photographer. So I remember, I mean, we had art all around us. So I was very, very lucky. And then the second thing is Judaism, that I think the family's interaction and involvement with Temple Israel made a huge impact on my life. Going to the Hebrew high school, you know, Rabbi Chari in the hallways, Mrs. Aronson, I mean, where do these names come from? I don't know. But when I think about being Jewish, it's such a strong foundation that I got from Temple Israel. And we got married there, and then coming back, you know, when the kids were little for the high holidays. It's really, it made us, when we came to Westfield, look for other Jews, for Jewish outlets, for schooling. And the last is community, that wherever I go, I realize that it's really important to have a community. And I think with my jewelry, that's what I try to do. So starting from these simple red string bracelets at $25, you can see the impact of my family's and friends' art styles and their beauty and creativity coming through. You can see the Judaism, the fact that this business, which has grown and grown and grown over 6 years, and whose mission is to give back. We raised, I want to say $20,000 for the Tree of Life Synagogue with the Tree of Life necklace. You know, so I'm always looking at ways to give back I don't need to keep everything for myself. So I'm happy to do good and to spread it, and community, to create a community wherever we go. So that's me right now. Thank you.
You have anything else you could just show us? We're all lovers of beauty. You have anything?
Oh, I'll show you my logo. I love my logo.
It is beautiful.
It's called Mass Designs, and it's 3 little coins, 3 little dots, which are not perfect, and they're gold, and it's reminiscent of my jewelry, most of my jewelry pieces. And what I most love about it is that it's a little quirky and a little weird, like me. So I hope that I've unapologetically grown into myself and am true to myself, because that's what I want to be. And I'm so grateful and happy that my art has come through and that I can create community and make people happy.
Wonderful. Can we ask you a few questions? Is anybody?
Sure.
So do you have a workshop? Do you work at home? Do you?
Oh my God, yes. So I took the guest bedroom, much to my father and my in-laws' disappointment, and I took that out, which I think was like a little sign that said, I'm sorry, you're not ever allowed to sleep at my house anymore. But we have plenty, and Nellie. And I've turned it into a studio, which is where I'm sitting now. It's a bit of a mess because I have 2 people who work with me, but because of COVID, of course, they're not allowed in the house. And there's no one to clean up after me. So I just literally work on something, dump it wherever it is. I do have my mascot. I'm gonna see. This is he had his first bath in 4 months. So Joey the dog is with me a lot, all the time. So if you hear snoring, that's him. Yeah, I have stock, I have beads. I love when people come to the house because I get to shop, and I've been doing it outside in the backyard because we talk and I get to know their personalities and what's important to them. And then based on that, we design something different and special. And it works. I'm so lucky that people like my jewelry because I don't make for people. I interpret what they want. Some people like it, some people don't. Most people do, so I'm lucky.
Yeah. But just give them your website.
Don't worry.
I would like that. Let them. I'm not just no. Just.
It's massdesigns.com. Maxine A. Schwartz. Mass Designs.
She doesn't have to tell you, but I can tell you that you won't regret going to look at it. So thanks.
You have a piece, Rona.
I do, and I was in such a hurry getting some pictures, I didn't get it out. But anybody who wants, I will share it with them.
Thank you so much. Yes, I do know Elise and David Deutsch. Yeah, I know Elise well. Yes.
Yes, it's a small world. Isn't it?
Oh, they're very nice people. I'm very involved in our federation, our UJA.
I just had a feeling you did.
Sorry?
I just had a feeling you knew them.
Yeah.
I just had a feeling you knew them.
Yeah. Elise is involved in federation, and that's how I met her.
Thank you. All right. So thank you. Okay. So
thank you.
Just, safe and well, and raise a beautiful family, and we'd love to have you. Thank you.
Thank you. And so nice and so special to see everybody. And I think about your daughters and your children, and I see them on Facebook, and we connect, and hi Noelle, and
hi, how are you?
it's really special. You all are really have a place in my heart. I mean that. So thank you. And thank you for being here. My father.
Is he here? No.
No, he's playing golf. Where else?
I was going to say, I thought you told him not to. I don't know.
No.
Okay. Give him a kiss for us then. Thank you. All right. Now, Brenda. Oh, before we go on, have Joe Moore Nellie?
Yes, he's here.
Okay, can we,
Yeah, you guys hear me?
uh, well, let's ask Carol. Thank you.
I
So
don't.
I'm
Hey,
sorry you had some trouble getting to us, but here you are. So I think what ends well is what's important. And thank you. I hope I did send it out. I hope everybody saw his artwork and a very nice and a very professional presentation. Thank you. But if you could give us a little background on how you came to do what you do and what exactly do you do. I think people would like to know about how you developed your because I remember the question I asked you was how do you keep them in one piece? I mean, who is willing to wear a piece of art? So I'm leaving the question to you. So tell
gotcha.
us how you make it, if not durable, certainly not fragile. Good.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a pretty common question I get is, will it last? So first off, hello everyone. My name is Joel Greenspan. I'm the grandson of Nelly Mizrahi. So Nunna, hello. It's nice to see you. Yeah, so I am what you would call a custom sneaker artist. And what that basically means is I'll take pretty much any type of sneaker or shoe and I'll decorate it in any type of custom design the customer is interested in. Uh, and I guess, interested in art ever since I was like a little kid. Um, and for me, I also had a strong interest in sports, and a lot of these shoes are like athletic shoes that you see athletes wear and use, and there are a lot of sports brands involved with it. So that's kind of what made me even more attracted to pursuing this type of interest. In terms of how the design um, stays on the shoe, so I actually have a pair that I'm working on right now. It's a very common shoe type. This is called a Air Jordan 1. It's made out of traditional leather. And what I'll do is the first step is always prepping the shoe. So I'll take something called deglazer, which strips away the factory finish. I'll take a couple, I'm actually in my desk right now. I'll take a couple like cotton balls. I'll dab it in it's like acetone, and I'll just wipe it down, make sure it's all clean, and this strips away any of like the factory finishes that are on the shoe, so the paint can adhere properly. And since the shoe is leather, the paints that I use, and here's a bottle right here. This is from a brand called Angelus Paint. They make leather-based paint. And what I'll do is, since this is a leather shoe, I can just paint it on directly and then heat set it. So I'll have like a heat gun, which kind of looks like an industrial, I guess, what's it called? Blow dryer, except it's much, much hotter. And what I'll do here is this basically accelerates the process of heat setting it into the sneaker. And the reason for that is you don't want there to be streak marks on the shoe. So if you can look at the screen, you'll notice that it looks like it's almost factory finished. It doesn't look like it came from a brush. So the way to avoid paintbrush marks is a lot of thin layers and then heat setting it. So as long as you clean the sneaker properly, you adhere the paint properly, it'll last, the life of the sneaker. So you can wear it every day. You can, obviously I wouldn't jump in mud unless, you want dirty shoes. And then, I'll put protectant on it and sealer. And so, you won't get stains on it. The only things that come into play are if you're using like synthetic material. So like if I'm working on a pair of cleats, like football or baseball cleats, or some more like athletic type shoes, like cross trainers, where there are a lot of artificial fabrics or plastics, that's when you get into more complex concoctions where you'll have to mix the paint with like paint softener. If I wanted to like paint the inside of the shoe, so it's very soft. And if you use leather paint, you can get it on there, but what happens is when you heat set it, it's going to be very stiff, and you're not going to get the flexibility that you would get, normally if you weren't to paint the shoe. So making the paint thicker or thinner based on what you're putting it on plays into a part as well. But a shoe like this, I can go directly from brush to paint without too much prep work. So that's kind of like the high level version of how I get the paint on there and for it to stay and not crack.
And how do you get customers? I mean, is this word of mouth? I'm just wondering what kind of, how this is not a hobby. This is a, is this a, I don't mean a hobby, but do you spend all of your time on this? I don't mean to be, I just meant to what people.
I get what you're saying. Like how do I get a customer base, or how did I, I guess, get people to buy into the shoes? So kind of going off what I listed out in the presentation, I didn't really know, I never was a big, like, quote unquote sneakerhead. Sneakerhead is the terminology for someone that absolutely loves shoes. These are guys that, will buy every single shoe that comes out every year, though they're really into the culture of footwear. So I never really came from that area, but for me, what interested me was just companies. Like when I was in college, I came into contact with like a former Nike footwear designer, and me being in a creative background, I was like, oh, I like sports. I like, the athletic brands. Footwear is something that I feel like would be cool to design. A lot of people, like, when they think of sneaker design, they're like, oh, that'd be really fun. So talking with him kind of sparked my interest. And then around the same time, my sister was going to school, and she had seen on Instagram, which, to your question, is where I do get a lot of my customers, just because it's a very visual platform. I don't know if any of you are on Instagram, but I can actually post my page right here if you guys are interested in looking at additional images. But yeah, Instagram's where I got most of it and most of my customers, and that's where my sister saw a pair of shoes that I posted in the first slide of my presentation, which are these canvas Van shoes, and it's a very popular shoe model that a lot of people tend to paint because it's very soft and durable. And she had seen a pair of those on Instagram. She came to me and she's like, hey, would you be able to make me a pair of, Maryland shoes before I go to school? I feel like that would be really cool. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So lucky enough, I just used normal fabric paint that you find at like an arts and crafts store. I made it in a couple of days, and she loved them, and I kind of enjoyed the process of that. And then on top of that, I was doing some like applications for sneaker design programs, and I realized that I really enjoyed the process of like looking at a shoe, figuring out like the shape of the shoe and like what designs fit best for that. And I also came to the realization that there's a difference between sneaker design and sneaker architecture. So when someone says they're a sneaker designer for like Nike or Under Armour, these big athletic brands, a lot of people look at it and think, oh, they're probably coming up with the colors and the design on the external part of the shoe, which is in some senses correct. But in reality, it's almost better to call them a sneaker architect. You need to have a proficient knowledge of not only shoe structure and the parts that make up a shoe. So the midsole, the outsole, the tongue, the upper, the toe box. There are a lot of components to the body of a sneaker that you have to have an understanding for, kind of like how an architect needs to understand the structure of a building. And then you have people that, like me, that are like the mural artist of the building. If you went to a mural artist, he probably couldn't tell you anything about architecture, but he's well-versed in painting buildings. So I would say I'm really good at painting buildings, but I didn't have the background to actually build a building. I studied business, finance and marketing. I didn't study textiles, which is kind of like the engineering aspect of a shoe. So for me, I kind of realized that becoming a sneaker designer meant that I probably would have to pivot my educational background. So that kind of like was a possibility down the road, but I kind of realized that maybe I may have to go back and study something else. And that time I had already graduated college. I was looking for something to do. And then uh, in the interim, my brother had just graduated high school, and I kind of had the idea of like, oh, I'll make the same gift for him that I made for my sister, except my brother doesn't like the same shoes as she does. He's kind of closer to that sneakerhead type of person where they like the athletic basketball sneakers. So that second photo that I sent you guys of the Penn State shoes, uh, that was quote unquote my first real custom project. I couldn't just buy arts and crafts from a store and put them on the shoe. It wouldn't last. Like you said, it probably would have worn away and he wouldn't be able to wear them. So what I had to do was do a lot of research. And through that research, I found that not only are there companies like Angelus that make the supplies you need to create these kind of things, but I also came in touch with a lot of artists that do this type of work. I kind of became exposed to the whole culture of sneaker design and customization. And it was a pretty big of a market. And that paired with, me realizing, hey, I kind of enjoy this. I like it. And it's more in tune with what I was hoping to do from a sneaker design standpoint. Like you don't go to these companies and have the privilege to design sneakers one of one. You kind of produce it at like a mass level. Here, I kind of could do my own spin, and not only did I feel like I was good at it, I realized there was a market for it, and a lot of the big name artists that do work for athletes that someday I would love to be able to do. I saw their work and I'm like, I can definitely do something similar. So that kind of sparked it. And then in terms of finding customers, a lot of it from the beginning was doing pairs for friends and family. I did a pair for my brother, a cousin, my dad. And then the more, as any artist can attest to, the more work that you do, the more of a portfolio that you compile, the easier it is to sell yourself to other people and get them interested. So through the more pairs that I did, the more of a business approach I took to it. So not only thinking about what the customer is asking for, but also making it more legitimate. So creating business cards, creating a business profile on Instagram, making sure all my communication was very professional. So if someone reached out to me, I would respond to them like if I was responding to a business client, making it a very well-developed process. Making things very organized, tracking financials, that kind of helped me not only stay organized, but also figure out what type of sneaker artist I wanted to be, because there's a lot of variation that you can do, and just looking for those business opportunities, networking with people, talking to people that had started their own small business, and a lot with this, especially with sneakers and design and art that's through Instagram, a lot of it is just finding someone that can buy into your idea or getting them to be interested in sneakers. So one vehicle that was very helpful for me was there was a radio show on ESPN, which is a sports channel. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with it, but there's a popular show where one of their personalities is very into sneakers. I reached out to him, told him I was a fan of the show. He saw my work, and he signed on for 5 pairs, which has been, tremendous. So kind of getting that partnership with him and having him help grow the brand as well was pretty awesome. So I know that was a lot of information there. So feel free to ask any other questions that you may have.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, does your clients bring the shoes to you? You don't like purchase the shoes and sew like a line?
Good question. So I'll either purchase the shoe directly, which I tend to prefer because enables me to buy multiple shoes at once. But if they have the shoe on hand, then yeah, I've had people ship their shoes to me. I just request to see the condition that they're in because, if they're lightly used, they've only worn, 3, 4 times, then yeah, we're good to go. But if it's a shoe you've obviously worn for like a year and a half, it probably isn't ideal. But yeah, I'll do both.
I have a question. How long does it take for you to design and a shoe?
Uh, Too long. It really depends on how intricate the design is, the shoe type. But I would say, so usually I can only usually work on these, after work. It's right now it's just a side gig of mine, so it's usually before or after work or on the weekends. But I would say it usually takes start to finish a couple weeks, excuse me. But it's not straightforward like every day working 8 hours on it. It's like a couple hours here and there. If it was my full-time position, probably would take me, depending on the shoe, maybe a solid week of painting. Um, but yeah, there's certainly ways to get quicker
So
at it.
I just looked on your Instagram account and your work is really, really beautiful. And I'm wondering, do you offer a family discount?
It's funny you mentioned it. So when my dad asked for a pair, I gave him the old "you paid for my college" discount. So he has an endless supply of sneaker coupons as well. But yeah, it price is definitely something I get. It's probably like the most common question I get. But it is all depending on the project. But yeah, I've dished out a couple family discounts for sure.
Are we family?
We are family. Ellie, are we family?
We're family.
Yeah, of course we're family. I'll hook you guys up.
Thank you so much. This is delicious. Are you all right? This. I hope this is not an embarrassing question. Are you wearing your own sneakers today?
Oh, well, right now I'm barefoot, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
Because, we're in quarantine. I'm not trying to impress anyone. But
Do you wear your own sneakers?
I haven't made a pair for myself yet. Part of that was just because I could only take on so many shoes at a time. So I figured it's better for me to work on a customer's shoe than my shoe in itself. But I do have a pair that I have planned that actually I'm probably going to start within the next couple of weeks. I finally figured out an idea that I wanted to do. So yeah, I have one planned.
All right. So if you post it, we'll come.
Yeah.
Wear your own sneakers, your own beautiful sneakers. People will stop you in the street and say, "Wow, those are so cool. Where did you get them?"
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
So I think you saw he put on he put it on the screen, his Instagram account, and he obviously is available. Thank you so much, Joel.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes, stay safe and
You as well.
don't do anything we wouldn't do. Yes. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. So now from our trend setting and very proud making progeny, we're going to go back and finish up our discussion on our heritage and with some of the people who have brought a few objects. Maybe they'll give you good ideas, Maybe you'll have a heritage line. If we will, so I think we will start with, if she's still here, Eva. So thank you. And Carol?
Eva. Oh.
Did we find Eva? Carol? All right. Well,
Start talking, Eva, so I can find you.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Eva, is Eva still with us?
Is she still here?
Eva, speak if you're here.
Forever holding peace.
All right. Well, we'll call her again. Maybe she's had to go out of the room for a minute. That's a good thing about being at home. Either you can be barefoot or out of the room, but we will all. So I tell you, I'm looking up. I know that Irene had made a request to give us a little information, and we're delighted to share a little with her. Tell us, Irene, about your father-in-law.
Irene, unmute yourself first, Irene. Unmute yourself.
Do you see on the bottom there's a mute? Huh?
First time I'm using this
You got
iPad.
Okay.
I didn't have time to go down to my office and get my father-in-law's picture. My father died 51 years ago, and that was a terrible loss. But my father-in-law popped right in and started to parent me. And it was such a wonderful experience. He was a very busy man in business. He was very famous for bringing the first flannel shirts to America. They were Chinese before with a white background, and these were woven straight through. But he was always there in my life with the children, with the grandchildren. With the grandchildren, my children. And far more than my mother-in-law, who was annoying, he was fun to be with. He was fun to talk to. He had very good advice. And as the years went by and I was widowed, we moved him to Great Neck before Gary passed away, and he lived at the Atria on Cutter Mill Road. And I would visit him every day. It was such a pleasure to reverse roles, le door door, to go back, and I being the caring person, but he still was. And a few months after Gary died, he said to me, I think you need a friend. And he said, somebody to go to the movies with, somebody to talk to, somebody to eat dinner out with. My eyes were aghast. My son-in-law said that also, but coming from my father-in-law who had lost a son, I thought that was most unusual. And so, of course, I did find a friend. And I began to take over. He thought that he could deal with his financials and he could deal with everything. I actually took care of everything for him, paying his aid, taking care of his investments, paying the checking accounts, taking care of all of his needs. If he needed a comforter for his bed, I would give money to the aid to have it done. And in his later years, he wasn't talkative very much, but I would go and hold his hand, and he would sometimes say, Irene. He knew that Irene was there. And he had a daughter who came rarely. And the day he died was a very sad day for me. And we went right over to the aid. She called at 5 a.m, and she hugged me and she said, you were his daughter. You were the daughter that he loved. And that was so beautiful. And to this day, he died 1 month short of his 101st birthday. We had his 100th birthday here. And it was wonderful having him here. He was somewhat alert, not 100%. I'm 100, he said. But here was a man who had had so many wonderful experiences in his life. And yet his family was the most important. And I became immediate family when I married Gary. But for him to parent me as well was a wonderful experience for me. My father, too, was a wonderful man, but died so early, so many years ago. I was 28 at the time with little children. And he gave me wonderful advice, but he didn't live long enough. And so I thought I would just say that this was a special experience for me in my lifetime. I think of him almost every day. I have a picture of him right near my desk in my office. And I'm smiling now because it brings me joy to think of him. And that's about all. We went to temple together. We did everything together. And it was a very significant part of my life.
Thank you. You know, brought tears to my eye. You know, their family, that was what we were trying to get across, how important and how important our memories are. So thank you for sharing yours. And I would just, um, in a different way, I would ask Eva. Are you here now, Eva? I see your name. Eva? Okay, we'll get Eva hopefully later then. But I know where Laura,
I'm here. Oh,
uh,
Carol,
Carol, Carol,
you'll find M. Bardash.
but I don't see. Does everybody see? Oh, there. Okay,
I
good.
see you.
I'm using Manny's computer. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Hello, everybody. This is a talk of a different kind of a tone. The topic that I was thinking about is what they brought from Europe. I think that was something Rona had suggested at one time, not so long ago. So I have a number of items, and with the able assistance of Marina, my granddaughter, who you met when she did her quilting, family quilting and community quilting presentation, she's going to handle the technical slide part, and I'm going to give you a brief history of what the Bardashes brought among the things, what material things the Bardashes brought with them. Okay, what they brought over, Faye and Joe Bardash's journey from Poland to New York. Okay, today we're sharing photos and a little background about special items brought to the United States from Poland by Manny's parents. We're fortunate to have many photos and documents and artifacts that remain through the various moves that the family took. For some background, Manny's mother, Faye, came from a village in the Ukrainian border of Poland called Przemyślane. And here she is. You may be able to pick her out. There, that's it. Thank you for highlighting, Marina. The center top. And in the front is Manny. The little boy is Manny, but that's a story we'll get to later. The population in Przemyślane today is listed at less than 7,000 people. She was the oldest of 8 children with a 10-year span between all of them. There were 6 girls and 2 boys. Her father dealt in wholesale and retail textiles. He owned several multi-family buildings and a store on the marketplace, on the square. The house was well appointed, and based on reparations inventory that we have, it contained things like a Bosendorfer piano and very significant furnishings and personal effects. Manny's father, Joseph, came from a nearby village of Galagori. And this again, it's his father's 2 brothers, his parents, Manny's mother in the center, and Manny. He was the oldest of the 3 brothers, and at age 19, exactly 100 years ago right now, he went to Palestine to work on a farm. His ability was recognized, and after 3 years, in 1923, he was sent to the United States to study agriculture in California. At a stopover in New York, he came down with malaria. After recovering, he changed his plans. He had found landsmen and he found work, and he remained for 5 years, at which time, in 1938, he received his American citizenship. Then he felt free to return to Poland to visit family without fear of military inscription. At a theater performance, he met Faye, and a romance quickly ensued. She agreed to go to America with him, and they had first a civil marriage so they could begin the paperwork for her emigration process. That was followed by a civil, I'm going too fast for the pictures. That was followed by a civil ceremony, and they came on the SS Majestic. These are pictures of them on shipboard, looking very dapper. She's actually wearing a sable coat. He's looking quite elegant. Looked like a very nice, calm day for a sailing, too. And, you know, it makes us think none of us are going to be on boats for quite a while now. She received her green card, which made it possible for her to come over easily. Then they were given some parting wedding gifts from the family. Maureen, do we have those pictures? No.
Well, you could
Oh,
show
oh,
me.
first, this is her actual green card and her photograph of the immigration permission to come over, dated November 12th, 1929. They carried with them all kinds of really beautiful silverware. These are majestic candlesticks, which she used throughout her whole life.
And which we have.
And which we have now. I have a letter. These were given to her by her parents when she got married. And when Manny and I got married, Faye wrote this letter to us. It says, "Dear children, may the lights to be kindled by these precious candlesticks, a gift from my beloved parents to your father and me, be a beacon of all that is good to you in your life together. May they reflect the joys to many events to come and forever gleam with the events that both of you will have from this day on. It's signed with deepest love, your parents." So it's not dated, it's not addressed to specific people, and it's not signed by specific people. But we know where it came from. And although they wanted to give it to us as a wedding gift for the next generation, I said, no, as long as you can enjoy them and use them, keep them. So it was many, many years later that they came into our household. Okay, the next item, Marina. This is another item that they carried over. It's actually an esrog box, and it has a very beautiful monogram on the top of it. Very classic silver piece, very, very beautifully made and crafted. At the time, in the early years, they didn't use an esrog in the house for the holiday of Sukkot. And my mother-in-law actually used this to hold sugar cubes for tea. And we have used it. We actually carried it to Temple Israel with an esrog several times in the years of belonging to Temple Israel, until it started getting dented. Okay, next one, Marina. This is the flatware, which actually the pieces, again, has beautiful monogram, very classic style. And the pieces are gigantic. I showed them to Marina yesterday, and she said, "Are these eating pieces or serving pieces?" They're on the old European dinnerware size. And we use them occasionally. Not very often. They outsize the table practically. Okay, next, Marina. And this is a Kiddush cup, and it's one of a set. I'm sure it was a set at one time. We have only one of them. And to me, this engraving very much represents the villages that they came from. So it seems very, very personal. So that's some of the things. Those are some of the material things they came. Of course, they came over with a lot of significant emotion, and it must have been really, really hard to leave their families. So Manny was born, and at one point his mother finally got her citizenship in 1935. And then she was felt free also to go to visit back in Poland. And she took him for a visit back to Primyslana, back to Gologoro, and they spent 3 or 4 months there. And this is a photo. It's Manny with his mother's 6 sisters, a little cousin, and Manny is holding a violin case that his grandparents had given him with this attached violin, which I apologize. I don't know if you can see this now. I apologize, especially to Eva, for its condition. But Manny never became a musician from it, and it became a plaything, and it's a very, very sad state, but we do keep it as a memento. So we're happy to have this chance to share all this with you, and it shows some of the importance of holding on to whatever you can of the past to pass it on to the next generation. Thanks for listening.
Any questions?
Any questions? Oh, this is Manny with his 2 grandfathers. I don't know if you saw that before. That's a classic. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I don't see any. Okay, so thank you for your presentation. Unless somebody shouts out, because everybody I see is waiting to just to throw you kisses. That was lovely. Thank you so much. Did anybody want to say anything? Okay. All right. Eva, are you with us?
Third chance.
Okay, Eva, three chances.
Chances of
Yeah.
marriage.
Okay. Did anyone else have anybody they wanted to highlight in their family, or did anybody bring something that they want to show us? All right. So, Eva, are you with us? Okay. We will. You know what? I think maybe Eva will make a presentation. I'll send it out to you all then. All right, Carol, I have something, but I think, Carol, did you say you wanted to be last? I have something, but why don't you do it? Because show us what you have, because I have what I have is very much like what you have, and I wanted to tie it together. Okay, this is a very happy occasion. You gonna come show it to us?
I am in a minute. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right. Let me see if I can do this.
Okay. What?
So,
Yeah.
I have two sisters. And when my oldest sister got married, my mother passed on to her a Bible that was passed on to her from her mother. And I'll show you a picture in a minute, but it's called the Bridal Bible. Okay, let me see if I could share my screen so you could see. I took some pictures. So this is my mother's bridal Bible. And what's really interesting about it that I really just found out today while I was looking through it, it's a Hebrew Bible, but there's very little Hebrew in it, and it's not right to left, it's left to right, which is very unusual, especially for back in that time. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And the date that my mother's writing says June 22nd, 1950. So you can see my mom is Zelda Carell Tannenbaum, and my older sister is Donna. She is now divorced, married somebody else. She died. Anyway, then my younger sister, she got married to a wonderful guy, Brian Hitchcock. So it looks all smudgy because they spelled his name wrong and they had to redo it. So since they used gold leaf, it was kind of messy. And then my husband and I got married in '84. And so there's a whole back of this Bible that we can pass on to hopefully our children's family. But there's one other picture. Let me see if I could share this with you. Okay. So when I got married, I don't know if you can see it, the flowers were sitting on the wrapped Bible. And that's how I walked down the aisle with the Bible and the flowers covering it. It's something that means a lot to me, and I keep it proudly since I was the last to use it. I guess I'm the keeper of it. So hopefully I can pass it on. That's my story.
So do you have a picture with you in the Bible or no?
No, just sitting here with the flowers. That's, if you see the lace, that's my dress I'm leaning over. Actually, I was looking in the mirror, getting dressed.
But I don't see the picture. Do you have it in front of you?
The Bible is right here. Can you see it?
No. Maybe you have to take the.
Wait a minute.
I see the Bible, but I don't see your picture of you with it.
Okay, hang on. Let me see if I can share this one. I don't know what happened. Technical difficulty. I don't know. I guess I can't share it, but the Bible was wrapped, and then the flowers were put over it. It was very delicate flowers that were kind of, with a lot of green, that were kind of just drooping over it. And we each kind of used it in our bouquets. I'm sorry you can't see this. I don't know why, but anyway, that's my story.
Thank you, Carol. And if you could just let me have the scream afterwards, because
We'll do it as soon as I can.
because I think you'll be interested in the fact that I have Bibles to show too. It was just
Okay.
it was interesting that that's the way it was. I don't know. I'm
Let me
not.
get rid of this. Hang on. Okay. I'm just trying to get rid of the screen. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Could you?
Go for it.
Okay, but can you put me in the middle?
I'm getting there. Yep.
Oh, okay. Thank you. No, only because it was so much fun for me, and I hope those who did it and those who didn't do it but would think about doing is to go through your pictures, which I did for this event. Although I had done it a couple of years ago, I have to admit I passed my 53rd anniversary, and all those years, and I am a picture lover. I never looked in my mother's Bible. Let me see. Here is a picture. Let's see, of my mother.
Wow.
I can't see her face, but that's all right. You can see the dress, and you see that she is holding. You can see that she is holding the same. I'll bet very similar to way Carol's were. She's holding a Bible with flowers on it and with streamers that are coming down from it. She got married in 1942 to the handsomest man in the world. Here's my father, Bill. And I think this may be too small, but here's a picture of them together.
Yeah.
He's in uniform. He's going off the next day to war. They had 2 weeks for my grandmother to make a wedding. She made my mother's dress, which she then later made into 2 dresses for my sister and me to be flower girls. So I wish I could have saved it, but it was really it's very fragile material, and but I kept it for a long time. But I no longer have my mother's wedding gown because it just disintegrated. But what I did not remember, I never until this moment, hers just says holy. It just says on it. Holy Scriptures. It is a Hebrew publishing company Bible, and I never opened it to see that this must be what she had as a ketubah. It says, this certifies that William Toby Lickman and Marion R. Lupkin, William Toby Lickman and Marion Goodman were by me united in marriage, Norfolk, Virginia, 9th August 1942, according to the laws of the state of Virginia and in accordance with the custom of Israel. The rabbi gives this, I guess, to every bride. He gave it to every bride in his congregation. And a little white Bible with gold. I'm sure yours was the same, Carol. And when you talked to me about having the imprinted that way, it was really lovely. But I never thought this was a personal Bible until I opened it, just looking through it today, which I'd never done before, to find that it is a real keepsake. Not only because it was my mother's, but because I don't know if she had any other ketubah, but it certainly, I don't know how classic it is either. It's not giving her dowry or his. But I tell you, it was the fact that the wedding was planned and executed in 2 weeks. So that, and then he went off to war. So it was a different kind of wedding, however. And this is the Bible that, I'm going to go very close. This is the Bible that I carried when I got married. So it obviously, and I'm older than Carol. So here we have three generations of brides that married with a Bible, and this was my confirmation. The girls did not become bat mitzvahs in my period, although the Rebbitzin wanted me to do it, but I didn't want to be the only one. So I was confirmed with the rest of my class. And here, like my mother, and like Carol, I carried my Bible with flowers cascading down. And I didn't, and never looked at this closely. And actually, you might see at the bottom something white and kind of, I don't know, it looks furry, or anyway, it's ostrich feathers. It's a bridal ostrich feather fan. That, not my mother, but my mother-in-law had carried, and her mother before her.
Oh, wow.
Not only that, so and then my Bible is under, and I never noticed before that there's an envelope that I'm carrying then too. That must have been my ketubah. And I think I showed you last time that I had for our anniversary we picked out a new ketubah, but that's what it's in an envelope. But that was what I did. You know, I never knew what happened to my ketubah. Now it's in the vault, but I didn't realize that I had carried it. And my mother-in-law also carried a Bible with flowers on it. Now I don't have her Bible, and I don't see it. She must have had, but I can only assume from the picture that coming back just like mine, my arrangement, that she has the fan. She has the fan coming down from her flowers. And to make it a complete.
Back to you in a second.
Is my daughter and her artistic black and white album at a time when nobody was but she. But anyway, you can see, I don't know that you can see, but she, even more than I, has the fan as the center of her flowers. She was just carrying and I think that was, at that time, was the way to do it. And I think they're doing it now. She didn't have she just had a bouquet of roses with the stems showing. I don't know if you can see the stems, but very prominent in hers. Well, no, I'm showing you us. I don't just see her. But you can see it, and I'll be proudly to show it at time. The entire fan is open in it. So now I don't know why there it is. I don't know if you can see it, but the fan, I guess I had no way of really working on this, but because it's white on white, but if you can see it, that the fan is still there, and she still has the fan. So of course she has a son, so I guess she's not going to be, unless her daughter-in-law, just like Joseph's daughter-in-law, was happy to carry something from the family. And I'm very happy that we had that tradition in our family, and I do hope it goes on, because I know the fan is indestructible. And I know Brenda, if she's still there or not, could tell you, I can't remember when we went to South Africa, we made a special trip that I don't think all tourists did, to ostrich farms in a small town. And we went there because there was a monopoly by Jewish merchants of the ostrich, at the point when, and why I can't remember the name of it. And of course we didn't bring our books with us, that I made it for every trip we made. But you wouldn't happen to know what the name of the town is, Maxine. The ostrich, no. So I don't see.
It's called Oatson.
Right? Yes.
Right.
That's
No?
You went to Oatson, Rona. Oatson.
Thank you, Oatson. And we had the most delicious ostrich steaks. But and I tell you, it was a big boom, and beautiful Victorian houses in the community, and it was a Jewish trade, and then there was a bust, and nobody was wearing ostrich feathers anymore. So that's a shame, but the fan lives on. So they're obviously fairly indestructible feathers. So that's it, unless somebody has been prompted by this. And I tell you, it really was a wonderful trip down memory lane. And I don't want to make a cliche of it, but hearing other people's stories, seeing other people's pictures, and even having something new, finding out all these years that I've had my mother's Bible that I didn't realize what it was until then. So don't throw anything away. All right, we have one more week where we will talk about, we can have, and we'll make, I don't know where she is, but we can have Eva be the one to talk about it then. We're not having classical music. We're going to have American popular music with Jewish composers and lyricists. And it is not going to be, unless maybe we can find somebody who'll sing some from Fiddler on the Roof for us. But this is going to be led by Joseph Lufkin. And I'm sure you will all enjoy it. And I will have to do better with pictures. I'm sorry, but I invite everybody when the time is right to come and see my pictures and bring whatever pictures you have of your own. It's very hard to display them, and much better to do it together anyway. So until then, until next week when we do music, please have a good, safe week, and we'll meet again. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, Rona. It was a lot of fun again.
Thank you, Rona.
Bye.
That was great.